since we're done in introducing ourselves and wala naman tayong masyadong ginawa last meeting. So, ngayon, magdi-discuss na ako. And I'm gonna discuss about operational auditing. So, let's start. Operational auditing. So, what is operational auditing? An operational audit refers to a method of examining how an organization conducts business. It requires analyzing the processes, procedures, and systems used within the company. This type of audit looks like beyond the organization's financial circumstances and examine its management practices. An organizational audit aims to find areas in need of improvement to make the organization's operation more efficient, productive, and effective. So, what is the operational auditing process? First is to determine the auditor. Typically, a company conducts an operational audit internally. They may have an internal auditor or audit team whose job is to manage internal or operational audits. Some companies may not have an internal audit team or an internal auditor with the necessary knowledge or experience needed, so they may hire an external specialist to conduct the audit. Next is plan the audit process. The auditor meets with relevant managers to discuss and plan their audit method. During this discussion, the auditor gains an understanding of the business and any potential concerns. They can identify areas that may require process improvements, providing challenges for them to focus on during the audit. Through this conversation, the auditor also establishes the scope and timeline of the audit. They can begin establishing the audit's goals and strategies. These objectives vary but should aim to support the organization needs and overall objectives. They may focus on a specific area of the company and its related processes. For example, a company may perform an operational audit on its hiring practices. The auditor and managers must establish objectives for those processes to meet, such as increasing the number of employees hired over a set period. Then the auditor uses those objectives to assess the company's current procedures and find improvement. So next is conduct the audit. Now the auditor examines the business areas within the scope of their audit program. Auditor needs to assess the existing processes and procedures to determine whether they meet the goal set earlier in the audit process. They have conversation within managers and employees to discuss whether the processes meet expectations. The auditor also may observe employees as they conduct those procedures and examine every step. Once the auditor understands and reviews the processes or procedures, they can develop tests to evaluate them. Through those tests, the auditor may find specific factors that need improvement and generate and experiment with solutions that help fulfill their objectives. An ideal processes work without issue and enables the company to conduct the task in cost and time efficient manner. So next is report audit findings. The auditor develops a report on their findings and includes any recommendations for improvements. Depending on those recommendations, the auditor may also draft an implementation plan to help the company make the necessary changes. They discuss these recommendations with relevant managers, ensuring that the management team understand the findings and solutions. The management may agree to follow all the suggestions or discuss why some changes may not be feasible. So next is perform a follow-up. After completing an audit, the auditor sets up a follow-up meeting within the relevant management team and staff. Commonly, they hold a follow-up about 6 months after the audit. During the follow-up, they discuss the changes made to the processes and assess their results. They measure these results to the objectives set forth by the audit and determine whether they meet those goals or are making some progress towards them. So, that's the end of our discussion. Thank you, everyone.